Bryan, thanks for sitting down with me today. Great to see you again.
Shawn, great to have you in my city of Indianapolis.
Nice. Hometown of Bryan Gerard.
Love it.
Excellent. Bryan, last time we sat down was, I think, 3 years ago in China. You just finished selling your company to Syngenta, started a new company. Can you tell me a little bit about where we're at with Gerard Seed Solutions and what's coming?
Well, Gerard Seed Solutions in and of itself took off more, as I mentioned that interview, much greater than what we thought it would. And we've kind of kept that on hold for a while because we had our second business started about a year later, JoMar Seeds. And JoMar is a wheat licensing company, which has, one, taken up a lot of time and getting that company on its feet. But number two, it has grown rapidly. Something we've been very blessed with. It's a wheat licensing company only. We aren't in soybeans. And our customers really responded well to us being back in the wheat business. But that being said, a couple of the projects we were working on at that time at Gerard Seed Solutions, we've held. That's another reason we didn't really want to look to grow it too much. We were very excited about those opportunities, the amount of time they were going to take, and we wanted to do them really well. You know, both those customers had given us a lot of trust, and we wanted to make sure we took care of that with the type of quality of work that they were expecting. But recently as the CSS in Chicago, we were approached a couple more times, and so Gerard Seed Solutions is in the beginning of a second growth pattern. So we're going to have our hands full both with JoMar and with Gerard Seed Solutions.
So you went from not sure how you were going to take something to blossoming it into two opportunities and running with both of them.
That's really better said than what I just tried to explain to you. But yes, you know, on the wheat side, we had set some goals, and we felt like that if we worked really hard with the genetics we would represent, and that we could get back into a very, very viable marketplace position, and we have, and we've been blessed with great genetics and a great response by our customers. We've had soft red winter wheat makes up a significant majority of that, but we have licensed to hard red wheat. We've got hard red springs, you know, into the marketplace now, and some soft white. So that's been really enjoyable and reconnecting that. And it's been nice to where we're focused only on the wheat, not diversified between wheat and soybeans. And it's easier to not be diversified by crop because of Gerard Seed Solutions. Our projects are ongoing. They're very fulfilling. And the one thing I've really enjoyed about them is getting into other crops. To see the professionals in the vegetable seed industry and how they are committed to feeding the world and bringing better product and nutritious product. You know, I get outside of my comfort zone, and the amount of learning I've done has been amazing, whether it's been pasture with alfalfa, maybe with barley, which is, though a cereal is a different cereals than I worked with, and also vegetables.
Right. There's lots to be learned, isn't there?
Not only is there a lot to be learned, but it's neat to see the integrity, the work ethic that's in our industry, no matter the crop kind.
And I think that plays perfectly into my next question, which is, you spend a lot of time on project and consulting services now. You talked about learning, and this is the flip side of that. This is actually reaching out and helping folks, connecting with them, offering them guidance, direction, advice, perhaps, might be a way to describe it. You're asked to speak at a lot of different events. You're no stranger to our audience, certainly. And I guess where I'm trying to head is, one of the things I hear you talking a lot about is being the ambassador for the concept that seed is the beginning of food. And maybe seed is the beginning of life. You speak about that a lot. How do you take this message to market, and why do you think that your version or impact on that dialogue is making a difference?
I don't know if my version is, but I'm just getting to be the carrier of a message that is about our industry, and to getting to have that opportunity is a real honor. You know, I speak a lot of times to local clubs, maybe, you know, or as a Kiwanis or other community groups, schools. Recently I had a chance to go up and speak at a college in New York, both to science students and then at the guest professional dinner for the business department. And one of the things in engaging those students and talking to them about the seed industry is, it's surprising, one, their curiosity about food and their lack of fully understanding where food comes from, how it originates, and getting to sit down and share with them, especially when I was in the science classes, how they are part of the solution. Because especially college students they're a cause-oriented group. They don't want people to be hungry. They want to be able to, you know, what can they do to feed the people who don't have food? And as you sit there and you explain, well, this is how it works, and you're part of that solution, and you have a role to play, and then get to talk about the promise of the economy of agriculture. Yes, I know right now you can hear, well, it's negative because of the commodity prices, but overall, in a 20, 30, 40-year period of time, it's been a very strong place. It's been one of growth for jobs, and that is something they've really grabbed a hold of. When you're sitting down getting to talk to, where I'm up at my farmer's market on Saturday mornings, and I constantly get in that conversation, and they'll say, well, I just want organics, I don't like you GMO people. I said, well, first of all, let's talk about that, and I'll ask, what does organic mean to you? Well, a lot of times it's not organic, it's I want to support the locally grown economy, or there might be other factors that go into it, and when you get a chance to engage with them, they see the value of that. Whether it's also, you know, going into high schools and getting to talk to some of those students and sharing with them the great opportunities. And I know in your country, Canada, that's done a lot by the Canadian Seed Trade Association. It's got a great ambassador program.
Yeah, absolutely, and we need to continue to do it. And I think that the piece that's the most important out of that story you just told me is that you're out actually doing it. And I know ASTA has initiated a program. IPSA is initiating a program here to push forward those ideas, to be able to transfer the responsibility from an association to the individuals that are part of that association and getting that message out there. Because I don't think associations share messages, the people share messages.
And that's really the associations I'm involved in, namely ASTA and a place like IPSA. They're really onto, okay, we'll help you here. We can provide you the tools, but you really need to be the voice. And that is something I've really appreciated, the support that's provided to us by the ASTA staff, the tools they've provided to us. My brother Greg is currently chair of the communications committee at ASTA, and they've done a lot of work on messaging and providing tools that we can use. And I actually used some of those tools in my speech up at Houghton College, and the kids were just like amazed. I didn't know, and several of them were concerned. They're seriously concerned about nutrition, about safe food, and when we get away from thinking, oh well, they're just silly, think food isn't safe, and really realize, but from where they're sitting, those are serious questions, and we can engage in those conversations with them. They start to see the value of the seed world. And then we like to promote the fact, okay, so are the wheat genetics we represent, what do they bring to the table? And getting to share that with our own customers who are in the seed business, so, and then them being able to share it to their customer, the farmer, and then us trying to bridge that gap and through ASTA and others to the consumer, or through just our local interactions. It's something that I thoroughly enjoy.
Awesome. Well, keep up the good work with it. When we got together last time, I asked you about the future of the seed industry, and one of the things you shared with me was that we may have to look at adjusting our skill sets, and that we may have to adopt more of a global perspective. How do you think we're doing, that was a few years ago now, how do you think we're doing as a seed sector in evaluating skill sets and in developing more of a global perspective?
I think we're doing much better at both. Both just within our own business and looking at it from a global perspective and how we reach out to customers and how they reach out to us, and trying to sit down and cross those cultures and how you do business in those different cultures. And then also from an association level, ISF cooperation with ASTA or CSTA or SAA, you start to see a similar message, a lot of effort and energy, being together and really promoting the seed industry, whether it's to governments, NGOs, or just to the consumer. I think we're at an all-time high. The other thing I think we're doing a much better job of, and I addressed that we struggled probably, and I didn't even predict in 2014 with the advent of social media, I think we're starting to reach into the generations below us, and instead of maybe look at that adversarially or maybe areas of disappointment, look at their strengths and really see the talent that's there, because there's always that debate about generation versus generation, but there is some phenomenal talent and work ethic and just vision and ideas in the generations below us that I think we're now understanding the power of them. Mm-hmm. We're understanding how to bring those into our companies and into our industry and really utilize them. And what is neat is to see how that energizes someone who's on the older side like myself. It really helps keep me young professionally.
I like being described as being on the older side, Bryan. That works for me. We're not old. We're just on the older side.
The older side.
Right, perfect. So that kind of, again, ties into my next question. There's lots of us that have young people that are looking to figure out how to steal your language, feed the world, to be able to have a cause-based approach to what they're going to do for the rest of their lives. And if I'm not mistaken, I think last time we chatted, your son was headed off to Uganda with a mission of figuring out how he can have an impact on that. What kind of challenges do this next generation do they face as they're trying to figure out how they fit into those cause-based scenarios?
Well, a side note before we get to that is he found a wonderful lady to marry, and they have our first grandchild who's 15 or 16 months. I might get in trouble when they watch this and I'm wrong. But they will actually now do what AJ was going to do in Uganda. They're going to be doing that in El Salvador.
Awesome.
Elise had been committed to the El Sal team, and so that's where they'll be serving.
Awesome.
I think the hardest thing that is trying to take the cause and then put the cause into a business plan. And I'm not talking about just the profit piece of that. I'm talking about, creating the organization, creating the delivery, creating how do you keep it as an ongoing entity? How do you continue to bring in new varieties? How do you help them become better as sustainable growers? Because that's what happens a lot in the third world. How do you get them to be better with what they have, instead of going in and trying to totally change their culture, which they're going to rebel against or may not fit? And I think that's the hardest thing, from an ideological perspective, because I remember when I was young, I had this ideology that you're going to change the world. And I don't want the young people to lose that. What I want them to do is really figure out how to organize and temper that into a model that allows them to achieve their passion, but allow them to achieve that passion in a continual way.
That's fantastically well said. I'm going to bottle that up for my next conversation with my daughters, because I think that'll be a useful perspective to put on it. We want them to go accomplish these goals. How does that framework around it actually fit together to make it actually work? Well,
and one thing I've learned, I think if you have a dream and you have a passion, can you figure out how to not only pursue that and use it to make a living? Yes. And if you can figure out that you can and how to do it, you're going to enjoy going to work every day. And I see that passion and I see that ideology in both my boys and other young people that I'm around. And I'm thinking, man, how can I recapture that? And then how can we capture that? Not stifle it, not try to put it in a box, but at least show them how to create their own box to put it in. So it is something that they can look back on in 10, 15, 20, 25 years and say, I'm helping to feed the world. I've also provided for my own family, and I've provided for others who work for me.
Well said, sir. Soybeans and wheat, big part of your life for a very long time. What do you see coming down the pipe that gets you excited as it relates to either Gerard Seed Solutions, JoMar? What gets you excited and pumps you out of bed in the morning?
Well, I think on the soybean side is they're continually finding new uses. And they're also, I think, the demand for plant protein. And so you see the soybean world really addressing that, and you've seen a crop now that's grown to where it's a global crop and have global use. And I think that's neat. And whatever those new uses may be, I don't know today, but you do know there's a lot of research going in to look for them. And in the current uses, they're looking to utilize soybeans in a better way, and that the soybean can be a better vehicle for delivery for the product they're looking for. On the wheat side, it would be easy to say, the hybrid, because that's obviously the next innovation. But I think the one that ties into both, and where I would really focus on wheat, is plant breeding innovation. With the tools available today, the excitement that you can bring into crops that get a lot of research dollars, and those maybe like wheat that don't get as much, are game changers, and it goes beyond a hybrid. I mean, you've seen some of the articles recently, as it deals with maybe we can handle the gluten in a different way, or high fiber, wheat, and I think there'll be other things along that line, whether it be higher flour yield, or maybe something that carries a higher protein level, but you're not giving up yield, or maybe there's other nutrition qualities that you're able to build into due to plant breeding innovation, and that's going to be open to the world, and it's going to be open to all crops to figure out how to utilize that. And I know that's the pat generic answer for today, but quite honestly, I don't think we fully understand and can grasp the opportunities that PBI is going to bring to us.
Because they are plentiful.
Oh, they are. I mean, they are. That's when I sit down in my most recent conversation with college students, that one topic dominated everything else. I did expect to get a little bit into the GMO versus non-GMO. All they really wanted to talk about after we got through initial conversations, tell me about plant breeding innovation. What does it mean? What are your concerns? Well, how does that open the door for, and they were coming up with their own ideas. Well, could you do this? And what would happen if we added that? And I tried to, eventually led back into golden rice, but we just talked about that concept, and on plant breeding innovation is going to be able to bring things to the marketplace, not only quicker, but ones that I believe the consumer will tremendously benefit from and embrace.
It's going to take some leadership to continue to have these conversations it's going to take some leadership to drive those conversations forward. You are a conveyor of these ideas, and I appreciate that about you. Is there places that you get your inspiration from? Is there people that you think have had an impact on getting these messages out?
Well, no doubt there's been a concerted effort and a lot of work put in by people, that have served on committees at ASTR, at ISF. But if I was to name one, it would be Bernice Slutsky of ASTA. She is not only a brilliant person, and she has a work ethic that is unreal, and mind that is unreal, but she has a real passion, just an unbelievable passion that I think anybody that's spoke with her or worked with her, had a chance just to visit with her, can see. And to watch the effort that she is putting in and spearheading, and I know she'd probably say it's all the other people doing the work, but you have to have a leader, right? And Bernice has been a phenomenal, phenomenal voice globally on helping us hone our message, and also as we approach different organizations, different stakeholders, different governments. It's just been phenomenal.
Awesome. Bryan, thanks very much for your time. I appreciate it. Great to see you.
Thanks, Shawn. Real quick, a fellow friend of ours, Robin Anderson, recently was put into the Canadian Hall of Fame. I wanted to give you a quick shout out, Robin. Congratulations.
Thanks. Awesome. Thanks very much. I'm sure she appreciates it.
Thanks, Shawn.
Thanks, Bryan.